It's not most of us, while millions of people struggle with tiny plats and leasehold traps. A handful of aristocrats, corporations and offshore investors own nearly all the land. Less than 1% of the population controls over 50% of England.
Join me as I explore the mystery of owning a land and how rare it has become nowadays, as people of my age, in their 20s, 30s, they barely have any money to even own an apartment. How can we put our hands on land?
In Britain, you step on a wrong patch of grass and you are a criminal. But here, you can literally set up your camp anywhere. And maybe the owners will come and offer you a cup of coffee and a big warm hug.
Aristocracy and large estates own around 30 to 50% of the land in Britain. But the small landowners, you as a small homeowner, you own only 20 to 25.
The origins of maritime law go back to the Viking times, when the Anglo-Saxons and Normans who immigrated to Britain brought with them the maritime law that has dictated the development of feudal society. So now the system has been built upon it.
When the Crusaders cut a tree to repair a broken ship, then the swarms or hordes of angry locals attacked and skirmished their ships.
During the medieval times, the ownership of land developed in different manners in Britain and in Scandinavia. As in Britain, the aristocracy got the hold over most of the lands. In Scandinavia, through different social movements, etc., the common folk has owned the most of the land, even today.
We are in the epicenter of a city full of privately owned houses and patches of land where all the people, they worship one God, the God of capital.
You have a right to roam, as you have a right to drive your car on a public road. Why it should be prohibited or forbidden?
First-time homeowners' average age is over 30 years in Britain and in Scandinavia. But concerning is the availability of land and where you can roam. As in Scandinavia, you can go basically everywhere.
But by observing law, we have the right to roam, and right to roam is only then prohibited when there is a clear boundary with instructions and telephone number of the owner. Such a nice place to live, you see. Even in overdeveloped cities, I can open the map application and actually take a look who is the real owner of each one of those houses and see where the money and the wealth are flowing. And I can contact the owner by paying few euros of commission fee.
Right to roam is an ancient Viking age practice which grants every man and woman a right to roam around the spaces in public, on private land, wherever they want to. They have the right to forage berries, mushrooms, but it has some restrictions. You cannot enter someone's garden like 100, 200 meters from the house. That's prohibited. And you cannot cut or destroy a tree on anyone else's land. But we are quite free to do anything else that we desire. Throwing litter on the ground in a forest is prohibited, like it's throwing litter over here, and why you should bring your trash to somewhere which is not a landfill.
European society values ownership and collecting wealth and goods to your own use. But our ancient society values freedom, the freedom to roam, the freedom to be, and the freedom not to own.
But what happens when you enter the ancient cemeteries? This place is owned by the church, and people usually get buried to the cemetery. It is prohibited by the law to have a burial at your home, in your garden, in a forest. But there was a clause that it is allowed to have a ship burial by burning it at your own home, or we are able to make a little patch of a land into a burial ground. So it's possible to bury the dead, the long gone family member, to your own home. But most people who live in apartments who do not have any land, they are forced to bury their people over here or burn them and pay for it. So the burial box or the ground, a piece of your burial ground, costs around 500 euros over here. But if you want to have ashes to burn someone, it's around 100 euros, and you get a urn, and you can throw the ashes into the sea or put it next to your television.
Owning a land or a house is a responsibility and a privilege that some of us can enjoy, and I hope we all can one day.
In Scandinavia, the land ownership is much more simple. This is our land that we own, 3.5 hectares, our own private road and a field. But any stranger can come here, put their tent up and camp over here without us having a right or control over them. We cannot punish them. No trespassing. Yes, you can trespass from here. This is great and sad at the same time. But I enjoy because I can visit so many nice places without worrying. Can I visit this place?
Ship burial or a stone mound could be a way of connecting with your earthly body, with your ancestors who lived here long time ago, and now you shall return back to the earth and never leave the presence of the omnipresent knowing of all that there is and will ever be.
Visiting commercial land or woodlands, it's so easy. You just can come here, you can put your tent up, you can forage, you can do whatever you desire. And I, as an owner, cannot prohibit you. I cannot say no trespassing. Of course you can. But we have a private road here, and I can put a clear sign and a boundary so I can block people or vehicles driving over here. But if I do not have a sign, then no one cares. It's not prohibited. But if you have residential land, as we have next to our commercial land, we have residential land and some woodlands. The residential land has such rule that people can come and cross it if it has no clear sign of boundary and telephone number that it is prohibited the trespassing over here. And common rule of the fist is that around 200 to 300 meters from the house you do not come closer. It's not written down, but people respect your home or your house.
For example, someone put a fence on my way. I have the right to roam, so I will just go from here.
I will be in the woodlands, in UK, in Italy, in Spain, it would be probably prohibited that I trespassed that fence over there. But here it's completely legal, and it's actually illegal to put a fence on my way. It makes me frustrated. I'm furious, and I'm already thinking next time when I come here I will bring some scissors or some power tools to cut through the fence.
We all should have the right to explore nature, but some bastards just try to cut us off by fencing it all. So Britain, it's up to you. Will you learn from the crazy Vikings and learn to honor the land, thus trespassing at your own will? Or will you still suffer suppression and handling the land to the named few? So here I can just take a nice walk. It's owned by someone, but who cares? It's just land. Of course, the morality and respect are important factors. That when we go somewhere, we respect the nature, we respect the land, and we respect the owner. Mostly, the beautiful forest land is owned by trusts or families, not by single large organizations or funds. It's more like, I'm a small owner of a 4 woodlands and you are too. This principle keeps the mentality healthy in the north. As a great landowner, do you have any protections against minions like me? Of course not. I have the right to enjoy this place, and you actually have an obligation to support me. In Estonia and in Finland, the land is owned approximately in the same way. 60% of land is privately owned by individuals or companies. 25 to 30% is state-owned land, and 10% owned by municipalities. In conclusion, there is a strong balance in the north, in Scandinavia, etc., that people are able to explore the land, roam around, and minions like me, little bumblebees, we also have the right to experience great estates like that one in the background. But I have also this touch of privilege that I can use the land, and therefore I do not need such great halls. I can live in a much smaller house and still enjoy the nature, the surroundings, and do basically whatever I want, unless it harms anyone else. So, please subscribe, like, let me know how do you see the use of land. Because my viewpoint is that in the 50 years time, in 100 years time, we will progress back into our ancient roots. That no one owns the land, but we become the custodians of the great land. And the society will start acting inherently in a different way. I was inspired by books written by Vladimir Mekre, The Ringing Setters of Russia. Yeah. And there they have this idea that every family should have 1 hectare of land where they can create their own paradise upon earth. I hope you enjoy. Goodbye.